Hey everyone, it's Invisible Walls, episode 120. Shane Satterfield is out, but to make up for it, we're having 1 million people on the show today. And I'm not going to even introduce anyone now because that would be silly, because there's so many people. So stick around for a good show. Enthusiasm.
You want to try that again?
Were you rolling?
Yeah.
Enthusiasm.
Nope.
Yeah.
Call of Duty Black Ops had a little multiplayer trailer, and we have some special guests here. Rohan, who's been on the show before, he works on GameTrailers TV, and John Smith, who sounds very anonymous, but he's one of our editors and made the beautiful pop block that's probably playing right now. So, hey guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Hey, Ryan.
Oh my. He's got crazy eyes right now.
Yeah.
He gets that a lot. You just gotta roll with it.
Well, one of them's dead. So, what are you thinking?
I like Call of Duty.
That's the rumor. Speaking of special guests, we got Miguel Lopez walking into the room right now.
Miguel, we're trying to.
He's walking away.
He looks ashamed.
Um,
He's leaving.
He just walked out.
So,
My mic just walked out too.
what's the big thing you came away from?
Well, I'm excited about Call of Duty Black Ops, which I don't think I really was as excited about up until I saw the multiplayer trailer.
Well, why?
Well, I was one of those assholes that just kind of was like, oh, well, I don't think Treyarch can do it, you know, he makes some stupid game, blah, blah, but yeah, I was a fucking Infinity War fanboy.
Yeah, but you still played World at War.
I played World at War. World at War was cool.
Prestiged
but
100 times.
I still wanted to play, Modern Warfare.
Boom buggy, man. Come on.
Boom buggies.
The ability to control an RC racer on the ground with like C4 strapped to it. Like that was definitely like cool. I think that the interesting thing that Treyarch is doing is that they're not restricted by the World War II or factual history. They actually kind of have like a more fictitious universe to work with now. But it's more modern than World War II, so you have like exploding crossbows, you have new technology, you have experimental technology. I think some of the coolest things we saw from the trailer were the new kill streaks. I mean,
Ballistic knife.
Ballistic knife.
It's gotta be my favorite.
I mean, one of the other interesting things as well, there's no dual wielding. I think they took a lot of what Infinity War did.
Is there no dual wielding, or is it just not in the trailer?
Who knows?
You know?
We don't know. But I mean, if it were a big thing, I'm sure they would have showed it. I don't know.
Who
But
knows?
it looks like maybe they're taking what Infinity War did wrong and what the people who are still playing it to this day have kind of voiced. Hey, we don't like danger close. We don't like one man army. Commando sucks. All of these overpowered elements to the game, and they scaled it back. I mean, I hope.
How do we
It's
know
kind of like they
that?
nerfed
We don't.
martyrdom.
I mean, it's all speculation, but
Modern Warfare 1 to Modern Warfare 2. I mean, I guess it's a constantly refinement. It's just weird with the switching of developers, and they're kind of building off each other's code base and whatnot. The Dune buggy is definitely cool, but have you seen like the Rage stuff that's going around?
Have you played Vice City?
Yeah, it's.
But this isn't a multiplayer environment. It's similar, but it does have a lot of different applications for different game settings, like game matches, like capture the flag or like domination or.
I guess my real question was the kind of the dodge move thing we saw.
Diving into prone?
Yeah,
going prone without
that was
crouching?
fucking
I
awesome.
mean, we're not seeing that from a first-person perspective, though. Is there any chance that was just some sort of physics from like some explosion force or something like that?
It looks funny. It looks like he meant to do it, but it looks funny if you look at it real
It
close.
looks like a Terry
it's
Gilliam
he
animation
goes
or
to
something.
dive, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a frame, he starts to fall, like he's just going to dive and fall, but then he kind of like starts flying for a minute. And he
pretty
literally
funny.
does like
Yeah, he
does a
flies
little
like Superman. Yeah, and then he
for a
lands.
second.
So I don't know what's up with that, but
I mean,
I didn't see any explosion behind it.
How do you
so I
think
don't
that's going to
he's
work, though?
being
Is that
pushed.
just if you have a certain amount of momentum and you click down?
I'd say
or-
it's activated cooldown. Like you can only do it so often. And there's cooldown timer, recharges, and then you can do that evasive move again.
You really think that's a viable?
I think how many times
I feel the more arcadey things get, the less or more reflex-driven things get, cooldowns become more and more aggravating. Like I played the Avatar game, which was like a mix of like a third-person action game and World of Warcraft, and cooldowns seemed kind of aggravating from that point.
Yeah, that's what
I
Halo's
don't see
doing
why
right
there'd be
now.
a cooldown, because it's just your crouch move, really. It's, you're just crouching prone. People do that all fucking day, just
Well, you
up
could,
and down,
like,
up and down. It's like
If there's no cooldown, you could dolphin across the map, like just
Oh,
cause two.
dolphin.
Like just cause two.
shooting your
I was just
shotgun
saying,
and flying.
Do the
But that's why I'm
worm.
saying. I mean, you have to restrict it somehow. I mean, You
I
can't
just wonder
sprint.
how
You
it's
can't
gonna be
sprint
mapped onto the
forever.
controller.
Maybe
so-
maybe it's a perk. We don't even know.
Yeah,
That
it
could
could be. You
possibly
go
be it.
crouch, you go prone, but
Yeah.
then how are you gonna dive? Like, how are they gonna map that? I don't understand that. That's the one thing I'm
Controls.
confused about. Yeah,
You got to be running, sprinting, and then click in, or who knows? Yeah.
like if you're sprinting and then hit B, or you. But sometimes you like to be sprinting and then hit B to duck to shoot. So like, I don't know how the hell that's gonna work.
No, World at War, Treyarch's
Curious
last
about
one
it.
had tanks.
Yeah.
I mean, are we seeing any sort of vehicle
I hope not.
things?
God, I hope
Nothing in
not.
the
'Cause
trailer.
I
That's what I
think
like
that
to hear.
fucking ruined World at War. You know, like vehicle perks. Like, who cares? I mean, the tanks were. I don't know. It's all about like fast-paced, like infantry combat, and you know, the entire Call of Duty series has always been really focused on that. And I think if they want to distinguish themselves more from like Battlefield or the potential for Medal of Honor, like no vehicles, like concentrate on what you're good at.
The only vehicles they have is that buggy that we saw, and then like the ability to control that missile, that horizontal missile. What's it
Those are more
called
like
again?
gadgets.
That's the
though.
toe.
Yeah,
That is pretty awesome.
I'd rather have those things,
It's like a
those perks
horizontal
than
predator
vehicles
missile.
myself.
I
Yeah.
would as well.
Those look awesome.
Yeah. This is where I'm gonna put in Shane saying, "All right, let's go around the horn."
You just gonna cut them in like that?
Yeah, totally.
Wow.
So I mean, so what are you guys thinking about the trailer in general?
I think it was pretty cool. They showed some cool stuff. The camera, the ballistic knife, the new shit that they put in there, the boom buggy, all that is. That's what, like I was trying to say before. That's what got me excited because I thought, well, if they just reskin it, and it's just gonna be another Call of Duty. But they did do some cool new shit.
It did everything that a trailer is supposed to do. Like, this is the first word on any multiplayer functionality for this game. Like, it's the first that anybody's ever seen of it. Great trailer. At the end, they give the tease to the recording, being able to record your matches.
Well, what do you
Like,
feel
yeah.
about that? I mean, you're a video editor,
That's
John. What do you think about
awesome.
that?
I wanted that in I thought we were gonna get that in Modern Warfare 2. I saw Halo 3 had it. I was like, okay, well, I really wish Call of Duty 4 had this, but they didn't, and it didn't come out in Modern Warfare 2. But then I had heard something. I don't know. I had heard a rumor that Xbox was gonna have like a recording feature built into the
Well,
dashboard or the
PS3 just got some editing stuff put in with the new firmware.
And I thought maybe that's why they didn't put it in the game, is that they thought, oh, well, this is going to be a feature that you could just do, you know, on your Xbox. You don't really put it in there. But I think what's cool about this one is that you can upload clips. And then Treyarch had their website when World at War was out, which was awesome with stat tracking and the iPhone thing. So you could check your stats and, like, watch your games and be like, oh, here's this game I played last night, and here's my kill-death ratio and all this shit. Modern Warfare 2 didn't have that. So with the upload the clip is cool. It's like, oh, now you can like record stuff instead of having to buy whatever people buy, that Dazzle HD or whatever. You can just do it, put it on your account, and it's all linked together.
John, here's my Pactor like prediction. Here.
Pactor.
Like, I'm gonna
Oh,
say
shit.
that. This is how, and if you look at Halo 3, Halo has this kind of functionality, but they charge $5 for premium.
They do
on that.
charge for that?
$5 for premium usage of it.
What's the difference between premium and just?
I think
you get
you're
like 5 minutes
you
versus
get, you
like
get
100
addition,
minutes
you
or
get
something
additional
like that.
space, and yeah, you're able to you get able to upload in HD. I think like there's additional incentive for the purchase, but this is a way that Activision could potentially, and they've gone on record saying, like the people at Treyarch have gone on record saying, we're not charging subscription for this.
But
the rumors
Activision
are
will.
false. But this is the potential for them to charge something for this multiplayer.
You think they're gonna do that?
I
That
don't-
subscription thing with the whole
No.
multiplayer?
I think it'll be available, but if you want to squeeze more out of it, like if you want additional features, if you want more from it, then hey, $5, you get all this extra space. You can upload in HD. You can share, from computer to computer. Who knows?
But isn't it being said though that there might be subscription to play Black Ops online?
Well,
There's been outright
it's
denial.
it's been debunked.
Yeah, so that's not true.
It's not true. Like Treyarch has come out and
that's
said,
good. All right.
not gonna happen.
I don't agree with that at all. The ever exciting panel of guests now includes Mike Damiani.
Hello.
And I don't know if you heard these guys last time, but we did have Daniel Bloodworth, Brooks Huber, and Justin Spear.
Hey, what's up?
Justin Spear.
Okay.
What's going on,
That's
buddy?
me.
That's you. I'm sitting next to you now.
Justin and Finger Slim LED. Now we are going to be talking about Mafia 2, and some people have played the little demo that's been released, and I know Damiani here has spent some time with the preview build, which
He got to play more.
was not actually the full game, right? It was actually a
It
real
was-
preview build. It was like
Yeah,
tailor-made.
they only
for-
had a few chapters available for us, and it kind of skipped around. So But it was a good slice of what to
A
expect.
slice.
How far
Yeah.
into the story did you get? You think? Pretty.
Maybe even a few
Good
slices.
chunk?
It goes pretty far. It goes through a decade.
Really?
Preview build. Yeah, it does.
And
So-
is it like Assassin's Creed where that decade does not make any difference to your character?
Well, I mean,
Makes a difference
he
to
shows visual
Yeah.
signs of aging. Like his face is more rugged.
Okay.
His hair isn't exactly gray, but you can tell he's been through a lot in that 10 years.
I just remember Ezio did not seem at all like 40 years
Yeah,
older.
he really didn't. But Vito actually spent some time in jail during that 10 years, so that's how they did a little the time
Lifting
advance.
weights.
So what's the whole story about?
Stabbing
Just give us.
people.
I'm after the demo. I'm just getting little bits and pieces. But what can you?
Okay, so yeah,
Paint
you
us a
play
little
as,
bit.
you play as Vito. He's a main character. He's a World War II vet. He's sent back home because he got an injury in the war, and he's actually supposed to report back to duty as soon as he's treated. But one of his friends and associates gets him out, and he's like, "Come, you can come work for me." And basically, he finds out right after he left for the war, his dad accrued a big debt from a loan shark. And the loan sharks come to collect on his family, and Vito needs to pull in some money quickly. And so he turns to his old friend Joe, and Joe is involved in some dubious activities. Says, "Hey, come help me out. You'll make some money, and we'll take care of this problem." And so that is how you're brought into the world of organized crime.
Sounds like you kind of like the story, Mike.
Yeah, it's
Did
got
they hit a little close to
You're
home?
feeling it.
no.
Like
no.
like
The
Damiani.
official stance is there's no such thing as the mafia. It does not exist. There's no mafia. No. They I like the story. I do. I like how it draws you in right from. I mean, it wasn't the first chapter, but from the moment the preview starts, like you really feel like.
But there's a big narrative push, right? Like it
Oh.
kind of looks like an open world game, but it's only like quasi open world.
Exactly. There's the few
I
parts.
saw people running over pedestrians during
Yeah,
the demo. a
the
lot.
car segments, it feels more open world, but there's definitely more of a push to go towards certain objectives. There aren't exactly a lot of side missions you can do at any time. It's more the primary objective, and on the way there, you can do other things you want, but it's definitely more focused, and for that, I think so far it pays off better.
So, do you think the demo that's been released is like a good slice of the slice you've seen, or
It's okay.
So like a
for today.
sliver.
The demo is actually one of the chapters that's in the preview build, and it is a good slice of the gunfights that you get to experience, but it doesn't exactly hit on all the other cool parts in the game that you get to see in the preview build.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've got some more cop chase stuff happening in there, and the whole how you evade the cops.
Well,
Yeah,
they said they toned the cops down from the first game where they were super on your ass for anything, but I felt like they were still like pretty harsh for like traffic violations.
yeah,
Yeah.
they are
I like
persistent on
bumped up
that.
against a guy,
Fender
and I
bender?
got out, and the cop's like, "Die, motherfucker!" I gave him like $5, $10. or
Cops
something.
cops
I was
just
like,
don't have handcuffs in
do
video
anything.
games. I'm convinced that they just don't exist.
I think they did a narc, but then you could also like shoot up heroin as a cop. So it was a bad
Do you mean
game.
the Narc remake?
The
or
Narc remake.
Oh,
Yeah.
not OG narc?
No, I definitely can echo that sentiment. Like the tiniest fender bender sets them off, and then like you run a red light and crash into something, and they just kind of ignore you. I think because later on in the game, maybe because you're a made man, the cops kind of know who you are, and they're not going to screw around with you.
Yeah, they
But,
did. I think they mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Did you get some hands on it when you were at the event, Justin?
Yeah, I played it at the event. I
Did-
actually played a good bit of it.
we-
Like
we
Does it
pretty
feel
much all
like
played
Does
it
it feel
then.
like Mafia 1?
I didn't play. I barely played Mafia 1, but most of the cars do handle a little better, which I guess is what the big thing in Mafia 1 is. Like the cars totally just are terrible. They're not fun to drive. But there
No
are a
power
few-
steering back then,
There's
right?
some fun to drive cars. They have a limiter thing in Mafia 2, so you
Yeah.
can kind of cap your speed at like a safe to navigate speed, which is actually kind of because I mean the analog button you can decide how fast you're going, but you can't really like hold it on 50 miles an hour unless you have superhuman precision. So it's kind of neat, helps your RP driving around at
Yeah.
a constant speed.
Game is definitely good for RPing. It has some good
Can
moments.
somebody explain that for our listeners? Because I don't think I even
Oh,
totally
so-
get it.
or role playing, obviously.
RP is when you be role playing.
Yeah, that's
You're
kind of
taking
become
the game seriously.
what you do.
And if you're RP walking, you're like walking when your character has. You could get there faster, but you're walking because that's what your character would do.
Yeah.
Like when you
Oh,
good
so
for you.
when I'm
You're
always
elevating your
constantly
RP.
jumping wherever I
Yeah,
go.
That's totally breaking.
Yeah, I
Like
guess
every
I'm not
time
very
I
good
went
RP.
to
Well,
the-
if you do
the
it at
wardrobe.
work, then
Actually, that probably is pretty close to me.
No, but yeah, every time I went to the wardrobe to get out the clothes, I'd always get the trench coat and the hat because the leather jacket wasn't doing it for me.
But what about the stats?
The stats. I don't think those affect
Oh, did you
your
try
stats.
to you turn on faucets and stuff like that?
Yeah, I went around
It's
and messed
weird.
around.
You can like turn on all your appliances.
So there's
and
like
then
some
leave the house.
minutia
Yeah,
going
but
on?
nothing will flood over. But you can like flush the toilet.
Wait, is
but
this
you
just
can't
like your
really-
house? Or, this is
it's-
still one of those games where you, like most of the buildings you can't go into,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You can go in a few buildings, but
Mhm.
usually just it's pretty much mission driven. You know where you can go and what you can go in. But
After completing missions, is it kind of thing like in Assassin's Creed 2 where you could build up your town or build up your house?
Your
or
empire.
There wasn't anything about that in the
Real
preview
estate,
build,
anything
so
like
I'm
that?
not exactly sure if they have any of that in there.
Godfather
you can,
2
you
had
can
that.
upgrade your car.
Yeah,
I think that's
but
about the
Did
extent.
people
Yeah.
really care about Godfather 2 after it came out? I don't
No.
really
No.
remember
It was
anyone
pretty
talking about it.
decent. It's
Yeah,
fine.
I think it just kind of faded away. That was the one with Havana and everything,
It's
right?
gotta have to have an element like that because GTA 4 does it. I mean,
don't
like a
think
lot
it
of
does.
similar games.
I don't know. I mean,
You can buy
there's
clothes and fix your car. I
yeah,
think.
you can
That's
buy
it?
clothes, you can fix your car, and then
It's
you can go to
story-driven.
you can go to a local bar in the 50s and you can go get drunk, and it actually affects you. So you're like
Oh,
walking around.
drunk
I do like the
physics.
music though. And
It's
they,
as
they
good
have
as
all the
Red Dead
traditional
drinking.
like
Oh yeah,
dad
they've got the
tunes.
Andrew
Red
sisters
Dead
in there. They've
drinking
got a ton of people.
Yeah, that soundtrack is.
I know it's accurate, but
definitely-
I find it hard to listen to. I just can't get any enjoyment out of it.
I don't know. It just makes me think of my dad. I mean, obviously, you know, you look at like these sort of games and they're always biting on like other like cinematic experiences, and there's this big history of like mafia movies and
Yes.
literature. Is there some stuff that's like blatantly ripped from The Godfather or Goodfellas or anything
I kind
like
of
that?
felt like most of the characters reminded me of specific other characters from like Goodfellas or Godfather. I'm like, oh, this is clearly this guy.
Yeah, there's one character in there who's definitely a Robert De Niro ripoff. He's got like the face mole and everything. The face looks
Yeah,
just
a lot
like
just
him.
the visuals.
Yeah, and the voice.
It kind of evokes it. It's not like the characters will behave exactly the same, but they're definitely drawing in that imagery and whatever, and
But it's not like carbon copy.
if you watch a lot of mafia movies, you'll be like, you'll really feel like
They have
That's
some
where
of
they've
the
taken
they
it
have
from.
some of the imagery, but so far I haven't seen anything that's like a blatant ripoff or even like paying homage to anything. It's
That's
just
cool.
it's just borrowing elements, so it's retained its
Or
own
it's,
style.
I mean, it's all based on the mafia. So it's like there's gonna be
There is
similarities.
no mafia.
well, yeah. I think it's informed by the Hollywood mafia. It's that kind of feel. You're in that kind of movie mafia world.
We are joined by Patrick Morales and Miguel.
Hello.
Lopez. We're gonna have a little. This is a big group right now. We're gonna have a little discussion on where we think RPGs are, where they're heading, where they've gone, and what's going on.
What are you talking about?
I'm gonna just kick this off by saying I feel like JRPGs have kind of gone down the toilet.
This is like an on the hook, but you're on the hook.
Yeah, this is my submitted question.
I think Western RPGs will finally catch up once they start including more art books, and JRPGs likewise including more cloth maps.
I mean, okay.
Lunar had a cloth map though, so
Cloth
pretty
map.
good package.
Damiani, you play a lot of JRPGs.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I walk by and watch you play a lot of them. Miguel, you just played Final Fantasy 13, which I'm still on the fence
Overrated,
if it is
Terrible.
an RPG.
Of course it is.
It's
Yeah.
an exercise in
Well,
tedium.
I think
That's what
yeah.
it
I
I
mean,
mean,
genre
Final Fantasy
names-
13. I think it's
It's RPG combat simulator. It's not actually.
it's basically it's basically the epitome of playing it safe. It's like it's just have it real easy to get through, and and it's a freaking funnel thing going on and everything else.
I guess it all depends on how narrowly you want to define RPGs, but sure, yeah. In my interpretation, it certainly
I
falls in
find like that definition's actually getting more and more broad. Like I remember when BioShock 1 came out, the PR sauce was saying that it was an RPG. And
shooter RPG.
yeah, that's a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously System Shock had a couple more RPG elements, so did Deus Ex, but even there,
Stats and
maybe
shit.
saying those things are RPGs is a little Johnny's.
I don't think Damiani ever answered the question.
Well, you play a lot of these, and then you give them lots of like 6s, but I mean,
A
what
lot
do
of
you think about JRPGs
for a
right
good
A
now?
lot of the RPGs coming out of Japan that I've been playing, actually, I mean, they've been more like, okay, on the Wii, a lot of the RPGs that have been coming out for it, they're more of the PS2 style era of RPGs, which they had a place then, but some of the mechanics in them are becoming a little like aged and tired.
Or like Arc Rise, that's pretty much a ripoff, right?
Yeah,
Well,
Arc
I
Rise.
heard a lot of fans of the genre actually liked Arc Rise a lot. I mean,
Well,
it's catering
you-
to a very
those
specific
guys.
taste.
You can
But
be
Damiani is a fan
you can be
of
a
the
fan
genre.
of anything, but I mean,
I think he liked it.
I can realize that there's some problems with games that I've been a fan of that I might like them, but it doesn't make them good games. For one, I mean, a lot of the RPGs that still have like random encounters is the like worst thing that they can still have in an RPG. It's like something that needs to be stricken from all RPGs.
Yeah, no, it's funny you say that. I know, Daniel, you played Dragon Quest IX.
Yeah.
I just think I hit 70 hours in it, and it's a very, very traditional game. I mean, for a JRPG.
Yeah.
But some of the little tweaks they did, like, you can see the enemies on screen.
Yeah, they'll run away from you
Right.
if you're level up and all that.
And just the fact that you can actually customize your characters beyond, like, a couple gear choices and stuff with the job system. It really does actually let you fine tune your dudes a little bit.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I'm probably one of the few fans, of turn-based RPGs still. I still love having that experience, and I think part of it is it's just kind of, it's like, even though there is a lot of depth and stuff in there, there's not kind of the intense pressure to make decisions and everything, and so it's sort of something that you can do while you're doing other things. It's like I don't have any problem taking a Dragon Quest game to the laundromat, or playing it while I'm watching TV or something like that, and just like, somebody sent me a message on Facebook, and I don't have to.
You don't have to
stop
break,
playing
you don't have to
because
break your
nothing's
enemies
going
before
to
you
happen.
can do any damage to them.
Yeah, like nothing's going to happen because there's not any kind of active time system there or anything. It's just, it's like when I make my choice, I make my choice. If I want to leave it sitting there for 5 hours, I can come back and just keep playing.
Anyone see those Fallout ads for Fallout New Vegas in
The
Japan?
Japan ones, yeah.
Yeah, where it's like distraught-looking Japanese kids like holding banners.
They're rebelling against
Yeah.
genre conventions.
No.
Basically, talking shit about Final Fantasy 13 and stuff like that.
But I mean, there are a lot of stale JRPGs, but there's also stuff. I mean, I didn't see how much you thought of Xenoblade or End of Eternity. I mean, they're both trying to do different things, right?
Yeah, Resonance of Fate was a good example of an RPG, because it took if you played Valkyria Chronicles, it like took that and took it one step further, in my opinion. It still has random encounters, which whatever. But the battle system, I like RPGs that have a really complex, intricate battle system that makes you think. I can appreciate turn-based, and I still like turn-based battles, but it can't be something so simple that I hit like auto battle and it just plays it for me. I like some depth to it, and if it is going to make me hit auto battle, at least I should be able to be making some decisions before then to set up like my strategy element, so that I feel that I'm actually doing something in the game, and the game's not just playing itself for the sake
Right.
of completing it for me because it thinks I'm too I'm a newcomer to the series, or I'm not skilled enough to like, get through it.
That's not a problem with turn-based combat, though. It's just a
Yeah.
problem with turn-based combat that's done kind of poorly.
Yeah, I
that
don't
was-
even think random encounters are inherently bad. I mean,
Excessive random encounters.
excessive random encounters.
Guys are
But I mean,
Arcadia.
some games like Etrian Odyssey, I think,
Usually,
random encounters.
usually
they
the
work fine
games
for
that do it in a way that annoy you usually have more things that are going against them to begin with. Usually, it's not a very good game if they resort to that to pad out the length or
fight heal.
Again, not to keep picking on Final Fantasy 13, but at some points, like, wasn't there like there's the switching the jobs kind of on the fly? Wasn't there like, it becomes more like this is something Justin says sometimes. It becomes like a combat puzzle more than there's not really a multitude ways.
I
to
felt
solve
that
things.
way sometimes.
And it's
that-
more like when you're playing like Advance Wars, and if you want that S, you can win a multitude of ways, but if you get that S rank, it's basically like solving a very exacting puzzle.
Right. I think what I'll say to that is I'm hoping that, because when you do one fight in that game, you aren't really eager to go back and do it again. Once I found one way to beat it, I just left it at that. And I hope that those fights provided other ways for you to beat them, other combinations of jobs. Because regardless of what party you're running with, you do have a bunch of jobs available to you in a bunch of different combinations. And yeah, theoretically, that game would allow you to overcome problems with different
different
setups.
ones.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
Like optimal paths are great, but I don't know. Like I remember Final Fantasy V. I remember
You can hardly tell what the hell's going on in Final Fantasy, other than you're taking damage or you're dealing damage.
You're
right?
just reading a lot
You're
of
basically
menus.
just tweaking things, and then you're
It's
looking at the
more, yeah,
feedback
like-
at the same time.
Instead of giving you control of the low level aspects of combat, it's more high level. Your guys are more or less doing what they're gonna do, and it's up to you to make the right decision at the right time to have them change. If you see one character's about to die, then you switch to a setup that will allow that character to survive, or someone else to heal it, or something like that. And I think that was still pretty compelling.
I hate that shit, but
It tried to get as real time as it could without being like real time, because you had to think fast, you had to be on the fly, even
Right.
though it was still turn based. And to that, it provided like type of payoff that.
Well, one thing that I
It's
think
like-
is very interesting is with the whole thing with everyone criticized Final Fantasy 13 for being so linear, and Square kind of came out and made this statement. It's like, well, it would take forever for us to make a game like Final Fantasy 7 in HD. But but now you're starting to see like little tweets and stuff from Nomura about Versus 13, and basically what you're seeing is that the reason it's called Versus 13 is because there's like a split in the company with game design, and Nomura wanted to do things his way, and whoever was on Final Fantasy 13
I would
wanted
really
to do
be
things
happy
their
about
way.
that if I respected Nomura a little more.
Yeah.
I think they need a split from the.
But it's like he's
'Cause they've been
basically
fucking up for
he's
years,
basically
Square Enix.
describing Versus 13 as one of the Super NES Final Fantasies in HD. Like this big kind of expansive world with smaller
Yeah.
dungeon
Well,
areas.
how about this argument? These old RPGs that we look back on fondly, they're not so much they're not so much less linear than 13. Only the halls are a little bit wider. They're better at fooling you into thinking they're not linear.
I don't know. I don't
Linearity
think that's it
and
at all.
Japanese RPGs go hand in hand.
But here's the thing, Dragon
Western
Quest
RPGs,
again.
Western RPGs. No, Dragon Quest is a weird example because
Yeah.
you can kind of go anywhere, and then monster difficulty just kind of goes up. But I remember back in the day, I was a big PC player when I was like a little kid, and playing like the Gold Box or like the Ultima games. Leveling wasn't so much important as what you were just doing like moment to moment. It was more like a small boost, and there's only so many enemies like in an Ultima game, and wherever you went, if you ran into a dragon, you could be 5 minutes into the game and run into a dragon, or you could be 10 hours into the game and run into a dragon, and it's going to be a hard battle regardless. And it was more about actually being more in that world, and the story's kind of wrapped around it instead of going through a story that's wrapped around the world.
I don't know. I think it's more of a recent problem that the linear aspect of,
Really?
of
Yeah, I
RPGs
do
from
too.
Japanese games.
I think
have
it's.
become the
I think
problem.
part of it is like a perverse focus on just combat.
It
I
is.
mean, I think even some Western RPGs, like I thought Dragon Age looked like a ridiculous amount of just like killing mobs, being in a dungeon for like
When-
hours and hours. I'm like, the battle system is a great reason to play an RPG if you dig strategy and tactics and stuff. But sometimes I think that it's people hone in on that a little much.
You need more than that, and that's what the older RPGs, the Japanese RPGs did, like Final Fantasy VI and even Final Fantasy VII. I don't think they were just like a larger haul. Sure, parts of the games you did have to go point A to point B. There's always a part like a few hours early in the game where you got to the overworld, and then you could keep doing the story objectives, or you could go explore over here. Oh shoot, a whole new
can
side
find- yeah,
quest.
you can find
There was
some
so
cool
much
shit.
other stuff to do in the game besides just beat the game.
That's
Right.
true, but
Yeah.
still, compared to like the Western tradition where it really was like go anywhere.
Right.
And what's funny
And
is
that's
Japan's
always-
obsessed with like wizardry and like Black Onyx back in the day, which were super Western games.
Right, but that was just like a starting point from which all this other stuff branched from.
Yeah, I mean,
know?
you can really just look at Dragon Quest 1 and
Right.
just see how it's to Final Fantasy 1 and just how much it splits almost
Right.
like
The
immediately.
one thing I do think is basically to split between the two though is Western RPGs have a lot of emphasis on the role playing. Like it's like you have a character and you make all of these conversation choices and stuff, and the closest Japanese RPGs seem to get to that is like letting you customize some guy that's still a mute. It's
yeah, you can
like-
you can name him.
yeah.
Mass Effect 2, or Mass Effect, and I guess Dragon Age is going this way too. They're making a more defined character, and you're basically, you're picking different options, but it's different
Right.
expressions
Basically,
from that character. You're not really changing
that-
or defining.
Yeah.
the
I think the
actual character.
intent for that was to allow them to get a good actor to record.
Yeah, I
the
mean
voice
it's
of-
good. I don't have a problem with that. But some RPG purists is like, hey, you're doing my RP for me. You're defining my character.
Right.
I don't
But
dig
yeah,
that.
like one of the main things you notice about Dragon Age is that you're essentially a weird mime that's inhabiting a world full of these super articulate characters.
You're like Chrono, but with more dialogue
Right.
options.
These guys are like holding court before you, and then you just like put on a stupid face and nod when they're like, yeah, let's go run down the dark spine.
I mean, I understand how like a Western RPGs, like the level of how much you decide you RP in the game is impressive, but I still go back to like the older games, Japanese games, and even back like in Final Fantasy VII, like the whole date sequence, like based on your answers you gave, like who you favored, like who you paid favor to, you ended up going with the date on them in the gold saucer. They had stuff like that. It's not very deep, but like your decisions meant something in those games.
Yeah.
You actually had some kind of outcome. It wasn't like anything on the level of like a Western RPG now, but it had its beginnings back then. And you mentioned like Chrono Trigger. I know we were talking about like going back, being able to do what you want in the game. Like I still think Chrono Trigger is just amazing for the fact that you can go and almost do what you want. You can try and go beat Lavos really early in the game and get fucked up and you die, and that's like the ending. Like Chrono failed, you died. That's like your ending for the game.
But then you just reload your save.
It had so many different ways you could go through that game. There was not just point A to point B. That game was. That's why I think it's such a great RPG. Is because that was the one that got it right, and that was like the pinnacle. And
understand that these games are always going to be compared to the Western games that they even, they completely did away with the arbitrary progression in a lot of cases. It was always,
Did you play KOTOR? Like the first KOTOR?
Yeah.
I felt like that was a PC game that was shoved onto a console.
Yeah.
And and it's funny because you're saying you feel like Chrono Trigger was very wide open. I saw it kind of just as a couple of branching nodes that you could solve in any order, and it was appreciated. But then it would kind of converge. And yes, being able to fight Lavos at any point is definitely a check mark in its progression. But I loved KOTOR, but I felt also like there was some JRPG influences here, trying to stick this on the console without having a keyboard there.
Here's the thing: I don't think that non-linearity, so-called non-linearity as expressed by Western RPGs is inherently better than what the JRPGs do. There are good examples and bad examples of each. I think it all ultimately comes down to the experience and whether or not the format serves that. And I think in Chrono Trigger's case, regardless of whether you want to call it linear or non-linear, that's excellent. That's I agree, that is one of the pinnacles of RPGs for me.
I would agree with that as well.
Too bad people don't, JRPGs, it just seems like they've lost their drive to fuck around and do different things, because when they do, it's like,
well, that's
you don't cater to your really weird, strangely developed, deformed audience that consumes a specific type of product. I mean, Dragon Quarter. I was trying to get Patrick to say something. Breath of Fire 4, Dragon Quarter?
Right now, but it's
or Breath of Fire 5, actually.
Quickly.
Yeah, anyway, they call it Dragon Quarter. It's a super awesome game. It was really different, and people just didn't dig it, and it was brilliant, and it'll never happen again because it had no audience. Western people thought it was too hard. Shane Bettenhausen is like, it's like survival horror that kills me. So,
That's kind of one of the problems with JRPGs. When developers try to make something that's a little bit out of the box, the Japanese people, that usually play that series, hate it.
Yeah. Well, I think the people making games don't know what to do. They only know what people have liked in the past, and they can't do anything else. I mean, Square Enix, I hate them, and I hope they, except the U.S. people, the PR is all good. But, it's like, I hope they burn in hell. They're idiots. They ruined Enix. Enix used to make cool stuff. I mean, they just have not done anything good in years. I feel like they're out of touch, and they don't know what they should be doing.
And
they're afraid to try anything.
Fall into this
action RPGs? Well, that's the other thing. I mean, this is a little thing I had on the sheet, is a lot of things are, I was kind of making fun of BioShock for saying it was an RPG, but look at Call of Duty's multiplayer with, XP and customization, or Battlefield back in the day, or
Need for Speed World.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
That's like sprinkling MSG and stuff, adding like EXP
well,
systems.
Yeah. I mean, it's totally, it's like the same like artificial.
Tastes good.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
it's
trying
But I think Mass Effect 2 is an interesting example because it kind of doesn't feel like an RPG in a lot of ways, like in the mechanics, and it's kind of wrapped in an RPG shell. And BioWare is known as an RPG company, but I loved it. I think it's probably my favorite game this year, easily. But it's just different. I don't know. I liked it a lot, and I'm a little apprehensive about Dragon Age 2. Now it sounds like they're going to nerf the PC stuff as well. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm interested with what BioWare's doing.
I think, I mean, it's less useful to think of these games in terms of how they fit these ideas we have about.
Well,
you know-
genres are getting kind of stupid.
Right. But I don't know. I mean, if you think of a fantasy game that is structured like Mass Effect 2, that kind of draws boundaries in the same ways that Mass Effect 2 does, I definitely think that could work. That could be cool.
Also, hey Patrick,
Yes,
strategy RPGs. You play a lot of those.
I play a few. Yeah,
Are those RPGs?
why wouldn't they be?
I don't know.
Are they? I don't know.
Well, as much as Final Fantasy 13 is an RPG.
Didn't you wash your hands of that association a few seconds ago?
Yeah.
Is this an R- is that an R-
He's like, but
Except for I have my little caveat.
no one
you know,
bugged you.
I am human.
I'm definitely looking forward to Sakaguchi's new game, The Last Story, and I don't think I can recount all the details of the mechanics from memory, but I mean, it seems like they're doing some very different things with that as far as like getting the enemy's attention and focus, and so that way, because your spellcasters are going to take longer to cast their spells, so you're trying to distract the enemy from interrupting that.
Or the whole thing the other thing you did mention about Last Story was the whole thing how you could scout out enemy forces ahead of time.
Yeah.
And find out who their healer was and try and take them out like with stealth.
Yeah, sniping and
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
so that they don't have a healer, so they're at a disadvantage. Stuff like that, is more unique. And then going back, I know earlier you asked about like Xenoblade, but that's another game that it feels a little bit like Final Fantasy XII at first, the combat system. But it's definitely like this giant, vast world where you can go anywhere. You get out of the town, you can go anywhere in that game. And you can just sit around and fight. You can do side quests and stuff.
You can swim.
Yeah, you can swim. Oh, wow. Yeah, you can
That's
jump off
amazing.
a cliff into water. I was like,
Swimming in a
I
video
would
game,
actually be
amazing.
pretty psyched about Xenoblade, other than it looks like a standard, JRPG with the character designs and the world. It doesn't look too interesting to me, but
I don't know, but
they could be doing some
the
cool
world's
stuff.
like on a giant like statue thing. That's kind of a little.
Yeah, that's
Well,
a
you know,
backwards
extraordinary
to
there.
gods.
That's kind of gimmick level. I just mean just overall, looking at it. But it could be cool.
Can I ask a vague question for anyone who wants to answer? Is why do you play RPGs?
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. I
No
mean,
one
I
knows.
love them. I love the.
We always argue about the
story.
stories. Sometimes they're kind of gimpy, but you kind of like it.
Well,
you just want to level.
it gives you. It's good context, and you can get attached to your characters. You feel like you have a reason to do stuff, and you can enjoy the mechanics of. It gives you an excuse to kill a lot of stuff too. It's kind of like it's kind of like
I think
buffet style.
Yeah, along those lines, for me, it's that investment. It's a special kind of genre where you can put hours and hours into it and feel like you're making progress on one thing, rather than just having throwaway games now and then, like in a shooter. Speaking specifically towards MMOs, that's an RPG. Just the fact that you're cultivating this character from start to finish, and seeing it progress is, I don't know. For me, it's a cool thing. It keeps me interested in the game, keeps me engaged in that world and the activities that you take part in.
I guess for me, it's all those reasons that these guys mentioned, but I would say I don't go out of my way to play RPGs, but whenever something excellent comes around, yeah, I do want to play it for, basically for the reasons you guys said. I want to see what people are doing with those very ideas in hopefully cool and interesting new ways.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just getting, it's having that kind of expansive, well thought out world, and just really getting immersed in that on every level.
Plus, you can't forget the first two letters, RP.
Play it for the RP.
I completely disagree.
That wraps up this episode. Thanks for sticking with us, even though there's no Shane to guide you through the audio pipes.
What are you talking about?
Just wanted to mention Gamescom's coming up. A lot of these dudes are heading out to Germany to get awesome video and post it, so stay tuned for our non-stop, ever-exciting Gamescom coverage.
That's a third ever exciting this episode, I think.
Yeah, you can just feel the excitement, the magic.
Perpetually.
Yeah. Well, thanks guys for listening. Shane will be back pretty soon, so just hold on there. Toodles.